Oh,
Happy New Year. It's January 2nd, 2026. Not one of those weird years that feels weird to say it. This one seems pretty normal, kind of. You're watching DeProgram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou. Good morning and Happy New Year, John.
Good morning and happy new year to you, Ted. It's going to be a good year. I feel it in my bones. And I know that I'm guilty of saying that every single year, including the year in which 3 weeks later I was arrested and charged with 5 felonies. But I really do feel like 2026 is going to be a big year for both of us.
From your lips to God's ears. And thank you so much for doing this with me. Going into a second year, I'm really enjoying this show. I really am. It's one of the things, it's like you want it. Honestly, what I used to have so many jobs where I would the alarm would go off and I'd be like, oh man, I've got to like go and do this. And I hated everything about it. It's the opposite. I don't ever set an alarm. I get up normally. I look forward to it. I hop out of bed. I'm always looking forward to doing this. So thank you for that. You're a huge part of it. And also Robbie West, thank you for that too. You're a huge part of it too.
I am
Speaking
guilty
of which, we will have Robbie come on in just a little bit to talk about what we're doing. This is the last for the time being of the 2-hour call-in shows. So we are here 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. this morning. We're going to be talking about the news of the day, and there's quite a bit of news to talk about. There's that fire in Switzerland. Mamdani took office yesterday as mayor of New York. Very interesting, more interesting than I thought it was going to be. More going on in Venezuela. And unfortunately, millions of Americans have now lost their health insurance as of yesterday. So we'll talk about all that. We will be doing the call-in show starting in the second hour, 10 a.m. The way that's going to work is there's a Discord link on the top of the pinned to the top of the YouTube and the Rumble feeds. Robbie is going to explain how to do that, but basically you're going to click that and wait. And no need to do that quite just now. We're not going to be taking any calls for 57 minutes, but you will be able to call in and talk to John and I and in real time. Please like and follow and share the show. We're back Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern time starting on Monday. So that's all the business. John, did you have a chance to catch anything from Mamdani's inauguration yesterday? Which apparently the Mamdani administration doesn't think they need to hire any graphic artists for their banners. But guys, I'm available. And for 10 minutes of my time, I could do better. But anyway, go ahead.
I was pleasantly surprised at how nicely organized it was. I got the symbolism of the different things that he did. The speech with the city hall stop in the background, very nice. The midnight swearing in, well done, well done. There was one thing that I was particularly interested in. I ran to the New York Post just to see what their reaction was going to be, because of course the New York Post is the right wing. It's not so much a right wing newspaper as it is a right wing rag. It's the tabloid for New York City.
Yeah.
It's a tabloid, and the banner headline last night was that Mamdani's, what is she, wife, I guess, wife, that she wore $645 shoes. It's like,
right.
That's what offends you the most, that the woman has an expensive pair of shoes.
I wanted to send a memo down to South Street where the New York Post is to 6th Avenue where the New York Post is headquarters, and say, so you do realize it's 2026, right? $600 shoes isn't really that crazy anymore. I mean, no. I don't have any, but I have $300 boots. I mean, I don't think I'm that bougie.
Yeah. No, see, nothing better to complain about.
Yeah,
the reason why normally I wouldn't care one way or the other about New York politics. I don't live in New York. I visit there, I don't know, 8 or 10 times a year, but I don't live there, so I generally wouldn't care. I especially disliked Eric Adams because he was a Turk lover, but Mamdani I really want to succeed. Only because they bash him so unfairly. The guy's been mayor for 9 hours, for God's sake, or whatever it is, 36 hours, whatever. Give him a minute. You're
right.
bashing him already
over his wife's shoes. I mean, look,
Covers
I
my
agree.
shoes.
I agree with that. I do always think that when someone's been bashed that much, they deserve a chance to succeed, whether they're on the right or on the left. That said, also, look, the left doesn't get a lot of shots at the brass ring in this country politically. And so here you have, I want him to do well, because if he fucks up, they're going to say, oh, look, we tried a democratic socialist and he screwed up. And that's why, no, we can never give the left a shot at power ever again. They don't say that about the right, about like the corporatists, right? Ever. They screw up.
Yes.
They get to keep coming back over and over.
That's right.
But, so all eyes are going to be on him. I thought a number of things were interesting. First of all, let's just talk about the symbolism. He totally owned the fact that he's going to be called a commie by everybody.
Yes.
He brought in,
Yep.
he had Bernie Sanders swear him in. He had AOC in the front row. I thought it was gracious, by the way, of outgoing Mayor Adams to show up, and it was gracious of him to
surprised.
acknowledge Adams, even though Adams had to sit there and listen to a lot of stuff that basically was an indirect criticism of his own mayoralty. I thought it was nice that he had something nice to say about de Blasio. It was overall a very civilized celebration of New York City. And I also thought it was interesting that he owned, he kept quoting and people, kept quoting very left-wing references. Jumanji Williams, by the way, the public advocate who spoke shortly before the mayor, is definitely a force to be reckoned with and a hard act to follow, and will no doubt has a future in city politics in a big way. The other thing is that now I think without a doubt, Zohran's been studying Trump. He's coming out of the gate fast and strong. And he already passed a flurry of executive orders, very Trump-like, where first of all, he did one thing that's very Ted Rall like, which is he's ordered that all abandoned public housing and and empty lots be examined for possible use as immediate construction of new housing. That's something I've been pushing for years, and something that's very anti-Ted Rall, which is to basically reduce regulations for private developers to build more housing. Because I don't think we have a housing crisis in New York City. I think we have a warehousing crisis. We don't need new housing.
You've said that all the years that I've known you, that there's plenty of housing. It's just a question of making it all livable and getting people into it.
It's a cartel, John. I mean, there's empty commercial real estate, storefronts that have been boarded up literally for 25 years. There are entire blocks in the middle of Manhattan, like at 8th Avenue in the 20s, like right in the middle, smack dab the middle of Chelsea, which is a very upscale neighborhood, which are completely abandoned and empty. There are townhouses on the Upper East Side and the Upper West Side of Manhattan that are worth $10 million, empty, vacant, tied up in probate. All of these things should be seized under eminent domain and used for some sort of housing. There's the 10022 zip code, which is the Upper East Side of Manhattan, very conservative. The occupancy rate in that area is 20%. 80% of the housing, all those buildings, you look up in the sky, they're empty. People sleep outside of empty buildings. It's very fucked up. But anyway, the thing is, he did that, and then the other thing he did was he basically went after the idea that anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism are the same. He got rid of the official IHRA designation of anti-Zionism as a form of anti-Semitism. And did a bunch of other stuff, basically saying we're going to leave the pro-Gaza, the boycott and divestiture movements alone. I mean, it's symbolic, but it's kind of stuff that he would have been accused of doing even if he hadn't done. So he might as well do it. I thought it was smart.
I think that's smart too. I saw the Zionism thing. It was virtually the first thing he did as soon as he took the oath of office. I thought, wow, now that is positive. People are going to lose their shit for a couple
Yep.
of days, maybe a couple of weeks.
They'll get over
But
it.
yes, they'll get over it. Exactly. And I hope that they give him the benefit of the doubt on things like public safety, for example. God knows nobody could have been worse than Eric Adams in terms of
True.
public safety. And this freaking guy was a police captain. So I'm looking forward
It's
to giving
unbelievable.
Mamdani a shot.
Well, I think with
Yeah.
Adams, what's really weird is he definitely on paper had what it took to be mayor. I mean, he was
Definitely.
experienced. He was in city government for a long time. He, like you said, he had the experience in law enforcement, and he was a reformist cop back in the day.
Right?
I mean,
That's
who
right.
knew that in his heart, in the black piece of coal that is his heart, that he was a corrupt fucker, like you said.
Yeah.
Not only sympathetic to the Turks, but on their payroll.
On their payroll.
And like,
Yeah,
and
to
in the
point.
most disgusting way, saying like, we'll just forget about the fire code
Yeah.
and let the Turks build whatever
No
they want.
worries. Yeah.
Yeah. Since when has fire ever killed anyone? We'll be talking about the Swiss ski resort thing soon. John, shall we take some questions, or do we have more to say
Yeah.
about Mamdani?
No, I look forward to the questions.
Okay, let's do it. Space Jockey says, Ted, I watched you on Jamal, and I want to opine. Do you really think that Trump would have given a fuck back then of the difference between a 16 and a 17-year-old and an 18 or 20-year-old? So what this is about is Jamal and I were talking about the Epstein files, and I said, I said, let's just stipulate, I don't think Trump touched any children. But I said, the real issue is the fact that probably Trump knew about it, what Epstein was doing, and chose to look the other way. And I said, people just, people like at that level, they just choose not to care. So, I'm going to stick by that. I think people, after you get used to it, after a while, you deal with so many scumbags. After a while, you just become insensitive to it.
I think that's right.
Frasmataz has a question for both of us. Do we expect a potential post-deal Ukraine resistance to spend their energy and capital attacking the West or Russia? So in other words, this would be like analogous to at the end of World War II when the Nazis were expected to have the werewolf brigades, like of young people, wage resistance attacks against guerrilla attacks against the Allies. That didn't happen. And so I don't know. I mean, certainly the Ukrainians have more of a tradition of partisans, but it's also 2026 with drone technology and everything. I don't know how you would be able to pull that off. You can't just, take to the woods like you're in that movie Defiance and just hang out and hope nobody finds you.
No, I don't see it happening. I really don't. For at least one reason being that the Ukrainians are losing. And you have to be blind to want to not acknowledge that the Ukrainians are losing and to want to keep this war going. Like, listen, it's laudable that you want to protect your country. It really is. But this territory is there are facts that play toward both sides as to who actually owns the territory. Do you really want to lay your life down for the Donbass?
No, I mean,
I would.
and the question is, how many people in the Donbass really want to be in Ukraine, right? I mean, first of all, we don't have accurate polling on that, but I suspect it's not 50%, right?
I suspect you're right. Ted, there's a little piece of northeasternmost Greece called Thrace, Thraki. And then there's Eastern Thrace, which is on the Turkish side of the border. The people who live up there, for the most part, are what the Greeks call Turkish-speaking Greeks. The truth is, they're ethnic Turks. And when the Treaty of Lausanne drew that border, it split the Turkish community. Some are on the east side, some are on the west side. If Greece and Turkey were involved in a war that had dragged on for 4 or 5 years, and the Turks took this little sliver of Thrace, I would jump up and down and say, oh, warmongering Turks, they're the worst people in the world. Would I take up arms? Absolutely not. For a little slice of where everybody's ethnically Turkish anyway? Absolutely not.
Yeah, it's that thing. There's all these little areas like that that are. I mean, honestly, it's sort of like Alsace-Lorraine in France. Like if Germany were just to
That's a
nibble
great
that off,
example.
you'd be like, which
That
they
is a
have
great
in the
example.
past. And the French kind of like, well, if you've been to Alsace-Lorraine, you're like, those people are basically Germans. They eat blood
Germans.
sausage and they drink beer instead of wine. And, I mean, that's true. I mean, if the Mexicans slipped across the border and nabbed El Paso, I'd be like, it's
Right,
basically a Mexican city.
right, right,
It's wrong, but it's not like they're taking Massachusetts,
right.
really. So yeah, no, I think that's right. I mean, look, here's the thing: that's the ugly truth about the Ukraine invasion is that this war is kind of resolving an outstanding hangover of the breakup of the Soviet Union and a poorly drawn
Exactly right.
international border. I
Exactly
mean,
right. Yeah, and
the,
it's like Crimea. Crimea only became Ukrainian in 1953.
yeah,
Khrushchev gave Crimea.
symbolically,
Yes, exactly.
it was
He
all the
gave it
same
to.
country. It was just a different SSR.
That's it.
I mean,
That
I
is
mean,
it.
it's like, and I think the analogy, Americans don't think about this, right? But like, imagine if the U.S. split up the way that the Soviet Union did, and you had 50 countries instead, where there were 50 states. I mean, some of the
Right.
borders would be fine, but like, for example, Newark, really, should Newark be in New Jersey? I mean, Newark is really part of the extended New York City metro area. Should Camden be in New Jersey? Not really. It's basically Eastern Philadelphia. And there's be a lot of places like that. Like these where the borders kind of don't make a lot of sense, and they might be resolved through conflict.
Right. Exactly.
C.
Yeah.
Morris, have we heard, wants to know, and thanks for the $5 and Happy New Year. Have you heard about the Trump administration terminating the 50-year-old lease on the 3 public golf courses in D.C.? And
Yes.
as an avid golfer, I'd be furious. Those are the only affordable courses for the average golfer.
Yeah, my son golfs at one of them at Haynes Point quite regularly when he's home from school. And this is the end of golf in the District of Columbia. And there's
What
no rhyme or
exactly is
reason.
happening? Because I don't. For those of us who aren't familiar, John, can you explain what's
Sure,
going on?
there are 3 public golf courses inside the Washington, D.C. city limits, which of course is federal territory. And they're in kind of out of the way places, but they're the only places inside Washington that anybody can golf. The prices are low, and it's to encourage, physical fitness and get out in the beautiful city and, spend time outdoors and breathe fresh air. And over the weekend, over the holiday, for whatever reason, not explained, Donald Trump decided to terminate the city's lease agreements with the federal government for this space. Now it's all like parkland. Um, you can't or do anything with it. You can't build on it, nor should anybody want to build on it. But just like that, no more golf in Washington, D.C. And he's a
Why did
golfer.
Why did he do this?
I don't know. All I could think of it was, well, he's got his own club right outside town in Leesburg, Virginia. And then I thought, no, this is for normal people, average people who want to golf, right? They can't afford country club memberships to go
Yeah.
golf at, Donald Trump's golf course. It's
Oh,
terrible.
yeah. No,
Totally
it is
unnecessary.
terrible.
But you know what, though? Presidents come and go, and this is going to be corrected later.
I've hardly ever golfed in my life. I'm actually quite good at it. I kind of like have a natural affinity. I don't know what it is. I'm good at pool too. I'm like stuff like that.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I was a
Oh,
good
good.
hitter in baseball. Couldn't catch at all. Could never field. Unfortunately, that's required in the game. So,
Yes.
anyway, um, Frasmatas, does a true honorable communist have their photo taken with Alex Soros on election night? I don't know. You commies confuse me. Many are trust fund kids also. Yes, Soros approved. Well, there's at least 2 things in there. First of all, when I first learned about George Soros, I was so disappointed to find out that he was just really a Democrat. And he's never donated money to a socialist organization or a left wing like Answer or any coalition or any actual left wing activist organization. He's just a big fucking rich Democrat.
That's it.
And so,
Democrat.
but anyway, the other thing is, you can be a trust fund kid and be a communist. Karl Marx wasn't from a poor family, and certainly Engels certainly wasn't. Lenin wasn't. It's like, it's about what's in your heart and what you want for the future. It's not about your own personal history. It can't be. Wouldn't make sense. I don't know. What do you think?
I totally agree. Totally agree. George Soros, the father, the boogeyman, was the founder and benefactor of the Open Societies Foundation. So the man who was the executive director of Open Societies wrote the law that I was convicted of violating. So I went to him and I asked him if he would write a letter of support for my pardon request. He said, absolutely. He said, when I wrote the law, it was never meant to go after whistleblowers. It was only meant to go after traitors. So he wrote this beautiful letter to the president. And then I thought, well, with his support, I'm gonna ask him if he'll go to Soros. And so he went to Soros for me. I asked if Soros would ask the president to pardon me. This was Obama. And Soros said, absolutely not. He was not even vaguely interested in helping me. And then the head of the Open Societies told me, look, the bottom line is that Soros is a DNC mainstream Democrat. That's what this comes down to. Oh, breaking news. Tesla was just dethroned as the world, and it's BYD, Beyond Your Dreams.
You've been talking about BYD a lot, John.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous car. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. But
yeah, we will.
The bottom line is that it's that he is a mainstream DNC Democrat. He's not the lefty.
I wish he was.
I wish he was too.
Yeah, the left needs its own billionaire. We just don't have one because by definition, I guess you can't have that. Full disclosure, I used Open Society Institute. I used to draw cartoons for one entity that's part of the Open Society Institute called EurasiaNet, which was basically, I don't know if they still exist or not. It was a news site about the Central Asian republics. And I used to do cartoons for them. And in also full disclosure, they never once told me what to draw or what not to draw. So just saying. But that was a long time ago. That was in the late 90s and early 2000s. Anyway, So by the way, also, I don't believe for a minute that Zohran Mamdani is a communist. I think, really, truly, these democratic socialists, small d, small s, they're just basically like 1960s, 70s liberal Democrats. They're Hubert Humphrey. They're George McGovern. They're people like that. That's what they are.
Right. That's exactly right.
That's why I'm calling them liberals. Exactly right. It's just that everything's moved so far left. Hey, Hunka Munka, thank you so much for becoming a monthly supporter over on Rumble. Much appreciated. And by the way, we probably should bring in Robbie too. It's already 9:25. We should talk about how to call in. So Robbie, please come on and use what's left of your voice to explain how the call-in segment works starting in 35 minutes.
Well, I will do my best. You'll have to turn your microphones up because my voice is shot bigger than hell. So the way this is going to work is pretty straightforward. I will drop a link to the Discord server. You're going to see a option down there once you join. It's called Call-in Waiting Room right up under the voice chat. You'll see it, easy to see. If Red can find it, I promise you can because y'all are smarter than me. It'll be first come, first serve. So if you want to make sure that you get in, go and start joining now. I'll keep track of who comes in. Once we go live, I will drag y'all down. You'll be able to talk to John and Ted. And by talk, I mean ask a question. We're not interested in your stories. People want to hear theirs. So ask a question. They'll put you back in the waiting room. And just the only rule is don't be a dick. It's pretty straightforward. If you are a dick, I will ban you.
Thank you, Robbie. And if you have an ad for us, please let us know.
There's no ads right now.
Question. Okay. Craig D. Vance, for you, John, you've been on Fox for various conversations. I'm curious what the vibe is behind the scenes. Do they drink their own Kool-Aid?
Yes. Yes, they do.
Mhm.
Lots of blondes with big boobs, even off camera. I've not really run into any like intellectuals, but they're very much true believers. Yeah, and that's both in Washington and New York.
That was my
Yeah.
experience too. It's been longer for me, but I can't imagine it's changed.
No.
I used to be
Yeah.
a frequent flyer over there. Question for both of us from Kevin Cronin. What are and how expensive are your favorite footwear? Mine might be Vasqua at over $200, but got at half price.
For me, the most I've ever spent is about $175. Yeah. But shoes have never been important to me. I just don't
as
really
a straight
think
as straight men, shoes are not really our motivating thing. I think it's safety. Guys don't really care about shoes. I bought those $300 boots I described to go hiking to Lake Sarez in Tajikistan. I just didn't want my fucking feet to fall apart because I'm prone to blisters. And I forget the name of them, but I also lately have become addicted because I have plantar fasciitis to Hokas, and they're the best. They're the best sneakers for people who have plantar.
I swear by them. In fact, I just bought my second pair a couple of weeks ago, and then I bought a third pair so that when the second pair wear out, I have the third pair I can step right into.
They're basically disposable shoes. They last like 6 months and they fall apart like instantly. But but while they're lasting, they're great. So
they are the most comfortable shoes I have ever owned in my life.
Me too.
Yeah,
I'm also
incredible.
for regular shoes. I'm partial to Doc Martens.
Doc Martens are great too. My sister initially introduced me to Hoka's. We were in Provincetown on Cape Cod, and we went into the store, and she said, "Oh, you have to try these shoes on." So I try them on. I said, they look like clown shoes, right? You know those giant shoes that clowns wear at the circus? And she said, I know, but you get used to it, and they're incredibly comfortable. So they were comfortable when I tried them on. I bought them, and then I was sold, man. Sold.
And what's funny is, I don't know if you're aware of this, John, but like up until a few years ago, they were kind of like cool with the kids. Like people, like before old people started wearing them, young people liked them. So like it's sort of like you didn't look like they didn't look down on you if they saw you walking in the street with them. I bet that's changed now. It's kind of like how the Miata was not a girl car when it first came out, and then it became a girl car.
It was very much a middle-aged men's car.
Yeah. And then within like 2-3 years, it was like you had to be a girl.
Yep.
Let's see more questions. Okay. Sorry, let me just get to all these. Ray C, thank you so much for gifting a subscription to the show. Sir Bikelot, I can attest to the fact that Laredo is on the wrong side of the border. John, how did torture affect morale in the CIA? While you couldn't keep with it, I guess, tolerate it, how did your other colleagues look at it in the moment and years later? How does it look in retrospect? It's a good question.
That's a very good question. In the beginning, the compartment was so tightly controlled that nobody knew that this tiny band of officers was torturing people. Nobody knew until, I'm going to say, 6 or 8 months after the torture began. It affected morale. It split morale. There were a lot of guys who were true believers that not only was this something that we should be doing, they were enjoying doing it. And then by 2005, enough people knew about it and objected to it that George Tenet pulled back. So they were torturing people from August of 2002 until the middle of 2005. But they kept the secret prisons going, and they kept, while there wasn't like active torture in the secret prisons after 2005, there was active torture at Guantanamo. And more and more people objected as more and more people became informed. It split morale. It damaged morale.
P, thanks for the $5, P Vecchio. Mamdani and Trump were third-party takeovers of the major parties, third-party in scare quotes. Would you interview Libertarian governor candidate Larry Sharpe from New York to talk about the challenges of third parties, i.e. legal hurdles? We answered this question before. Yes, if anyone wants to hook us up, please, make that happen. We will be happy to have Larry come on the show. Thanks for the $9, Jacob Decker. $9.99 actually. The CIA is notorious for putting people into power that they want. Do you think they were involved in Mamdani winning in New York? What would be the objective of having a Muslim mayor in New York and London?
No, that's just not something that the CIA is involved in. No. And the CIA, there's a position in the NYPD. It's deputy police commissioner for intelligence. And that traditionally goes to a person coming out of the CIA, right? The first one was Dave Cohen. He was the deputy director of the CIA for operations. He retired. He became deputy commissioner for intelligence. So the CIA likes things just the way they are. It doesn't matter who happens to be the mayor, so long as they get their position and can liaise with the Joint Terrorism Task Force. That's all they care about.
John, let me ask you a really highly theoretical question. So if, let's say, we had President Mamdani and red and yellow bunting all over the country and hammer and sickle flags, if the CIA remained in power, would the CIA basically dutifully continue to operate under a new left-wing regime, or would that just be too much for them?
I'm going to give you a two-prong, like a forked answer. On the one hand, most of the CIA would continue to operate as if nothing happened, because the president is the chief executive. They serve at the pleasure of the president. With that said, I think there would be elements of the CIA's Directorate of Operations that would actively seek to remove a president like that.
Wow.
I mean, John Kennedy was a Cold War Democratic hawk, anti-communist
World War II hero.
Yeah. And that didn't save him.
That's true. Soden, thanks for the $20. Happy New Year, John. We know you've had issues with your former agency. Yeah. Can you tell us a few? Can you tell us about your coworkers who were awesome, who we never really hear about, like Mike Spann and Bob Baer? Same question for Ted.
Yeah.
I guess, obviously I never worked at the agency, but I guess maybe my question would be like LA Times or something like that. Anyway,
right.
Go ahead.
I liked most of the people that I worked with. Most of them were genuinely great guys, women. They were patriots. Most of them actually happened to be Democrats. And all they wanted to do was serve their country. But it's like the higher up the chain you go, the easier it is to lose your mind and become a part of this activist right-wing groupthink that makes it all so dangerous. Like there were two guys in particular who I really, really liked when we were all junior officers together. One of them became deputy director of counterterrorism, and then deputy director of the FBI for counterterrorism. He became a war criminal, is what it was. He was a great guy. And then all of a sudden he's like murdering people with drones and then bragging about it. The other became head of the Alex Station, Osama bin Laden unit. awesome, fun guy, hilarious sense of humor. And he just became a stone cold killer. Besides those two, most of the people that I rose through the ranks with were really great men and women. I enjoyed their time. Our time together.
Yeah, the my answer is not going to be as interesting because it's not the CIA, it's the LA Times. But I'll just say that, like, I really liked almost everybody that I worked with a lot. I didn't actively dislike anyone. Basically, there was an inverse relationship between title and weaseltude. So the higher ranking editors who were more like middle management, like Nick Goldberg, who was like the middle management connection between like the executives, the C-suite, and like the editors who actually work for a living. He was a weasel. But even so, he was like a likable, charming weasel. And I didn't really have cause to butt heads with him until the shit hit the fan with me. And the people who were out to shiv me never met me, didn't know me, didn't care about me. We never had I literally hadn't even heard of some of these guys like Austin Butner when they came after me. And I think, frankly, it's just easier to shiv someone when you don't know them and you don't interact with them. Doesn't mean you can't do it otherwise, but just easier. But no, I really love one of the great sorrows for me. I don't know if you must feel like this, is with what happened to me at the LA Times, and I left involuntarily. Was I miss the people and I miss the job. I miss it. It was like I liked it. I was having a good time. I liked those people. I valued them. I valued the job. I loved being identified with the LA Times. I used to think it was a good paper. I mean, that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, that does.
Mountain MT16, thanks for the $20. A lot. Hi guys. When you were inside, John, did you know of any female guards shagging the inmates? The guy my sister is going out with said this happens all the time in UK prisons. Happy New Year. I'm reminded of that mini series, Escape from Dannemora, where that did happen, and it was key to an escape in an upstate New York prison.
Yeah, I did know of one case, and it was even uglier than just a female guard shagging a prisoner. It was a female guard married to the lieutenant who was in charge of the special investigative service, the rats, the rat squad in the prison. In fact, they escorted her out. They arrested her, escorted her out in full view of everybody. He was utterly humiliated. And I had to go to an outside, what do you call it, doctor to, I broke my pinky finger. I had to have my pinky finger reset. So they shackle you ankles and wrists to a chain around your waist. They put me in the back of the van. We're on our way to the doctor's office. And this lieutenant says to the driver, you know anybody who might be interested in a recently separated guy with a 4-inch dick? I remember just shaking my head.
Oh,
like, you poor bastard. Yeah.
Wow.
God. Yeah, it was bad.
So wait, I'm just curious because you've mentioned previously that the dental care was basically non-existent in prison.
Non-existent.
But medical care, like it wasn't the same. Like you mentioned your finger.
Well,
they would send you out and have you taken care of.
Only because I raised hell and I mentioned it in an interview with Jake Tapper. So it was 6 weeks. 6 weeks before I broke my finger, and I kept saying, you guys, I'm telling you, it's broken, it's broken, it's broken. I'm numb all the way up to my elbow. It's broken, it's broken, it's broken. I kept making written complaints. They kept rejecting them. And then Jake Tapper asked for an interview. So he came up to the prison, and we're sitting in the assistant warden's office. And he asked me about medical care. And I said, what medical care? They don't care if you die here. I said, I broke my finger 6 weeks ago. I'm begging them to let me have it set. It was crooked, like bending outward like this. It was ridiculous. And he says to the assistant warden, is that true? And he's like, blah, 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 blah. He wouldn't answer. Next thing I know, I'm in a van on my way to an orthopedic specialist.
It helps to know Jake Tapper.
I'll say.
Every prisoner should meet Jake Tapper. Wow.
Seriously.
That's insane. Let's talk about Venezuela. So President Nicolas Maduro says that he's now open to a deal. I don't think that's really a change, right? It's being reported like that's something new. But from what we know,
actively seeing this for months.
So he's been talking, but apparently I don't know. So what do you make of that? Is this reporting coming out of the White House where basically it's the leak is that the signaling is that maybe the truth is that the Trump administration is more serious about making a deal. And if they make a deal, how can Maduro trust that he's not going to be spirited off to Miami and jailed, as we've talked about here on the program? And that's question A. Then question B is, what is up with the bombing of drug boats, leaving survivors in the water, and then sending the Coast Guard out to look for the survivors? I mean, why bomb them in the first place? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think because the administration's taken it on the chin for bombing survivors in the past, which is a war crime, that now they're doing like the least amount of work necessary to not be accused of a war crime by just sending a Coast Guard cutter to look for them. But then what do you do with them?
If you find them. I mean, it's out
in the ocean.
Yeah, it's needles in a haystack. So
it truly is.
What's going to happen here? I mean, is the administration interested in bringing this in for a soft landing? Will they spirit Maduro off to the French Riviera? What will they do? Or Havana, or whatever they're going to do?
I think if Maduro can get out on his own, if I were Maduro, I wouldn't trust the U.S. government to arrange my exile. So if he can get out on his own, I think the Trump administration will declare victory, install a new leader, at least temporarily, and live happily ever after.
Could this be arranged like a Cuban? Could the Cubans send a jet to retrieve him? Would that be good enough?
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
They? Would they be interested in taking him for any? I mean,
I think
there's
so,
an alliance.
But I think the Cubans are actively encouraging him to stay and fight, because that's where Cuba gets its oil from, and things are bad enough in Cuba. Can you imagine having a right-wing pro-American leader in Venezuela, what that means for Cuba? Oh my God. Yeah, they don't want him to jump on a plane and run to Havana.
Right. That's a bad situation for both Maduro and for Trump, because there's no easy solution here.
See, now in that case too, I would be worried about people taking up arms and refusing to accept the change in government. Remember, like we said last week, Venezuela is the size of France, Germany, and Austria combined, and most of it is thick jungle. We can't fight a war like that. Yes.
And also the Venezuelan government has been training sort of Fedayeen type personnel to conduct that kind of street level and guerrilla warfare. So, I mean, basically, I think the government would fall quickly, but then the resistance would begin. It would be like Iraq.
So too.
Which is not
I think
good.
so too.
Pivecchio, what keeps Sicily poor? It's on shipping routes, very fertile farmland. Is it organized crime, government policy, Mediterranean culture? Thanks for the $2.
Yes, and yes. I think so. I mean, Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Corruption is rife, right? I mean, basically,
Corruption
the money all gets skimmed
has
off the
always
top.
corruption has always been a problem. Yes,
When I
always been a
visited
problem.
Sicily, I was last time I went, it was like 10 years ago. It was amazing how many checkpoints there were with Carbonari, with Uzis. And then also, God, like you just get, I mean, it's pretty, it's gorgeous. But then, like, for example, you go to the bank, and just to go to inside the bank, you walk in, there's a door, it slides shut behind you before the
That's how
next
they are
door
in Greece.
opens.
That's how
Really?
they are in Greece. Yes, sir.
So if you
It's
robbed the
tough.
bank,
And dude,
you'd be stuck there like a bug between the two doors.
oh yeah, you can't get out. Same in Greece. Don't forget too that Sicily is where the mafia was founded, where it was created, Castellamare del Golfo, and it still runs the show in Sicily and
And
in
that
Naples, for that
and
matter.
that's also partly because, right, the mafia made a deal with the US and the Allies that when they landed in Sicily, in exchange for information about the landing site and intel, they would be allowed to remain in power after the Allied invasion of Sicily in 1943.
That's
And
right.
so they have.
In fact, Vito Genovese famously had been expelled from the United States uh, in, I think it was 1939. He was expelled back to Sicily, used a fake name, and became a translator for the U.S. Army when it landed in Sicily in 1944, and immediately began running the black market in Sicily, made millions of dollars, which he smuggled back to the United States. And then he came back to the United States, bought everybody off so that he could legalize himself and head the mafia family that still bears his name.
Brilliant. And crazy. But yeah, I one time when I went to Sicily, I parked at a parking deck, outdoor parking lot, like near a beach, and yeah, it was just a parking garage, a parking lot, and I noticed all the pockmarks on the wall, and the parking lot attendant said, "This is where the Allies landed." Like, so it's still fucked up all these years later.
There was a show
Um,
on, I think it was A&E or H, no, it was on HGTV. And it was about these €1 houses that you can buy. It was Lorraine Bracco who played Dr. Melfi on the Sopranos, and Karen Hill in Goodfellas. She bought one of these houses in Sicily for €1, and the series was like 6 episodes, and it followed her renovations on this house. She ended up spending, like, I'm gonna say, like 250,000 to renovate the house. She made it absolutely fabulous, and so that's
Yeah, that's
her.
a whole thing, right? Like
Summer
like
home.
young people are doing this too, right? Basically, you move to Sicily. There's other places. Does the Greek government do that
Yep.
too anywhere? Like,
There's talk of it. They're paying people to move to some of the islands that have been depopulated because of the economic collapse 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it is, 15 years ago. And so yeah, there's some of the islands where they'll pay you up to 30,000 euros if you move. And it was especially successful during COVID because there were so many, what do you call them, COVID nomads or internet nomads or whatever they call them.
yeah,
So people actually did move to these islands. So long as you have an internet signal, you can work from
yeah.
anywhere.
Your biggest problem in those places is there might not be a grocery store nearby, or you know, there's
Right.
certainly no cafe, not yet, but there probably will be if enough people do this.
Oh
You
yeah.
just have
Yeah, I
to.
agree.
It's like basically it's homesteading.
It's
Um,
homesteading. Yeah, that's right.
Tara McCulley, this question for you, John. Do you have any history at Fort, I hope I'm not butchering this, Huachuca, or know what kind of
Oh
operations
yeah.
happen there?
Fort Huachuca. No, I never had to work at Fort Huachuca. Never. I've never even visited. I went
Where is it?
to, of course, um, where's Fort Huachuca? Is it in California? Let me Google it. Let's see. Fort Huachuca, Arizona.
Okay.
It's in Arizona. Never had to go. I went to Fort Bragg, did a bunch of cool stuff at Fort Polk because they created an Afghan village right there on the uh, uh, on the grounds of the fort, and they practiced back in the day. They would practice like guerrilla warfare and stuff. Um, what other? Well, Fort Meade, of course, I was a regular, and that was about it. We didn't do a whole lot of stuff.
Question for me from Ms. Linda Scott. Thanks for the $5. Am I still going to write a book about the LA Times experience? The book's written. I started writing a proposal, and I just basically went on a. It was in a frenzy, and it's written. It's just sitting on the hard drive of my computer. I haven't sent it to my agent or my publisher at all. To be honest, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to publish it or not. If I got a sense that there would be, to be honest, I'm worried about two things. I'm worried about the LA Times or people there, like who are powerful and corrupt,
Yeah.
suing me and dragging
Yes, I
me,
was gonna
dragging
ask
my
you
ass
that.
through the courts.
Yeah.
And then I'm also worried about just having to relive a very traumatic experience. Let's say the book does well, which is what you would want, but then you're giving countless interviews about it. John, I might ask you that question, right? I mean, surely it's crossed your mind a bunch of times, like maybe I should just like not talk about my experience as a whistleblower. Maybe I should just
Yeah.
move on, and then psychologically it would just be like recede in the past. I always worry. I mean, like if I started talking, if the LA Times thing became a thing, like Austin Butner, the guy who fucked me over, he wants to run for governor next year, and if he does, I'm publishing that fucking book because I'm not letting him
Absolutely.
becoming governor of California, if I can help it. But the point is, I don't want to have to fucking still think about all this. I mean, for you, it's even worse. I mean,
Oh my God,
how do
it's
you
the
handle
same
it?
story over and over and over again. Yeah,
Yeah,
it wears you down.
re-traumatizing.
Yeah, to the point where now when I if I said yes to every request, I would do 5 or 6 podcasts every single day. And
Mhm.
so I've started saying no to every podcast that just wants me to retell my story. I'm not doing it
Mhm.
anymore. I've had enough. Just had enough. And it doesn't, first of all, I don't get anything out of it personally.
Right.
And secondly, it doesn't add to the body of knowledge out there for John just to keep repeating the same story about himself over and over and over again. So no, the answer is no.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's a good metric, right? Like, does it help John? Um, Venkatesh. By the way, it's just a reminder, everybody. We are going to go start taking calls from you guys in 6 minutes. Please like, follow, and share the show. But please, if you want to talk to us, starting in 6 minutes, well, we'll stack up all the calls. We'll take the calls in the order that they are received. Just do what Robbie said. Go click the Discord link in the chat, either in YouTube or Rumble if you're watching this show live, and then go down to the area that says call in voice chat, call in waiting room. Robbie will take it from there. Please mute your tab so that you don't hear yourself on echo, but unmute yourself talking. People haven't mastered this yet. Here's the ad that we need to say. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee. Now's your shot. In fact, Robbie's drinking it right now. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. Only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and local and laser focus, no crash, all single origin, small batch, toxin free, and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic, a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions, and a black 1775 tumbler. $170 worth of coffee and gear is yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio. You'd think I'd have this down by now. And grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Okay, so Hisham, question for you, John. Thanks for the $5. Can you please speak a little about the role of clinical psychologists in operations and in other capacities at the CIA? I love that question.
That's a terrific question. It's a little bit sensitive. So there are, as you might guess, there are a lot of psychologists at the CIA. A lot. A small number of them, just a few little, are assigned to the Office of Medical Services, OMS. And they are there to make sure that the people the CIA sends overseas are not crazy. A lot of them are. You'd be surprised. And then they're put on a travel ban until they're less crazy. But most of the clinical psychologists at the CIA are split into intelligence and operations. The intelligence ones work with the analysts to do psychological evaluations on foreign leaders, right? How we can then use the psychology of foreign leaders to get a leg up, whether it's in, trade negotiations or, issues of war and peace or whatever. The other ones are in operations. I worked very closely with the CIA's team of operational psychologists because let's say I'm recruiting a terrorist. I want to make sure that the guy's not nuts, that we're not going to use him in an operation, then he's going to turn around and kill me in the middle of the operation. Or make sure that he didn't make the whole thing up. And when he volunteered to us that he was a member of XYZ terrorist group. I did one operation. I've told the story a couple of times. It was with a psychologist and a hypnotist who was a psychiatrist. And they hypnotized this guy. I won't get into the story here, but oh my God, I've never seen anything like it in my life. And I've spoken about it a number of times. But sometimes you need the psychologist to advise you as to just how far you can push a guy before he cracks. Maybe you want him to crack. Maybe you want to ruin his life because he's an asshole, or he's a double agent, or he's a plant, or whatever. Or maybe you want to push him so he gives you as much information as he can, but you don't want him to crack. You don't want him to ruin his life. So you find yourself becoming very close to the psychologist. There were a couple who were my go-to. Two psychologists who were my go-to partners on these operations, a man and a woman. And I still think about them all these years later. I don't even know if they're still alive. They probably aren't. But yeah, you end up becoming very close to the psychologists.
Kevin Cronin asking me how my op-ed is coming along concerning consumers. It's up online. Just go to rawl.com. So just it's right there. Click columns. Let's see. Let me ask. So we have two quick. There's the flash fire at the Swiss ski resort. We need to touch upon, and also the health insurance issue. So there's this. At least 40 people have died in Switzerland at this ski resort. This was a New Year's Eve celebration. And apparently there's images from online suggesting that they were having flaming champagne bottles. This reminds me a little bit of that crazy fire in Rhode Island during the heavy metal concert a while ago. And apparently, according to fire experts, this was what they call a flash fire, where basically if there's a lot of combustibles in an enclosed space, a fire can start in one place, but then simultaneously basically take up the entire room all at once. So no one has a chance. And within seconds, the temperatures could exceed 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And basically no one has a fucking chance. They say even a firefighter in full protective gear would not survive. It's just horrible. I mean, John and I were talking before we came on, and I mean, surely this has something to do with building standards. John, you were saying like the Swiss have it really together. They're a very organized society, famously to the point of boredom.
Famously, I was shocked by this. Yeah. I was shocked by it. I was shocked not just by the fact that it happened, which really was jarring, but by the fact that so many people were killed and injured so quickly. The first thing I thought of, like you, Ted, was this fire in Rhode Island. It was at a nightclub in in Rhode Island, how many years ago? And, you're dealing with corruption, you're dealing with people kind of asleep at the switch. I don't know. I always kind of had in my mind that the Swiss were beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess not.
No, rock and roll lore says that Deep Purple song "Smoke on the Water" is also based on some disco fire that happened in Northern Europe, I guess back in the 70s. So these things just happen from time to time. It's horrible, and you kind of like wish that we could develop fire codes that address these things. And finally, John, we have lots and lots of people who are either coming into the new year with higher health insurance rates from the Affordable Care Act. I got to know politically, right? So people are either paying much higher rates or they're just going to drop their coverage. I've got to think that this is going to percolate politically, and it's going to make a difference this year and going forward. I can't think that's just going to that. I don't know who's going to pay the higher price. I suspect the Republicans, just because they're the incumbent party. But I would imagine there's some hard feelings towards Democrats because they treasonously signed on to they backed away during the government shutdown for no reason really whatsoever, and they could have stood their ground, and the party leadership didn't punish them, didn't take away their committee assignments, nothing happened. It's kind of like a bipartisan act of malfeasance.
I'll tell you, man, I am just as angry today as I was when those, whatever it was, 4 Democrats just collapsed under the weight of the government shutdown. Like you, my terrible Obamacare plan went up 20% overnight, just like that, to the point where I can't afford it. Thanks to Barack Obama, it is illegal to not have health insurance. So I'm stuck. Now, thank God, 1st of February, I'm going to get health insurance through the media company that I do my TV show with. So I have one more month of this gouging, and then I'll have some insurance. But listen, I put the blame squarely on the shoulders of these Democrats. They didn't have the guts, they didn't have the belly to stand up to the Republicans and demand a continuation of subsidies.
And they're part of it. And the thing is, my minority leader Chuck Schumer let them do it, right? He didn't say, you guys crossed the line, we'll fuck you. He didn't do that.
Oh yeah, we'll strip you of your committee assignments. We'll put you on the Select Committee on Aging. How about that?
We'll reassign you to an office facing an air shaft.
Exactly.
Yeah, they didn't do it. Exactly. There was no punishment. He gave them permission.
He gave them permission.
So therefore, it's like it's not just those 4 or 5. It's effectively the entire party. All right, guys, we are entering the second hour here of the show, and as promised, this is the call-in segment of the show. Robbie West, please come on and explain to everyone to the rules for people who are just joining us. It's 10:04 Eastern Time. We're taking your calls until 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Robbie? We love you, Robbie. Please unmute yourself, mobile guy, and then and make sure your tab is muted, but unmute your voice. We see you are muted right now. 3, 2, 1. Tammy, please unmute yourself. Nice to hear from you. Tammy, you are muted. There you are.
Okay, sorry, I can't hear you cutting in and out. Oh, no worries.
We hear you, Tammy. Go ahead. You're on the air.
I was wondering if you all are able or know something. First off, nobody seems to pay attention to Slippery William Barr. And he just seems to go unchecked wherever he goes, and now nobody talks about him. And I just find that very disturbing. Do either one of you care to comment on that?
John?
I think I know what you're referring to. A couple of people have asked me about it. I have to agree with you. I think Bill Barr is a dark figure in contemporary American politics and history. His father had a role in the CIA or in the creation of the CIA. I don't know. I've heard a lot of accusations. I haven't really seen much in the way of proof. But I think we would all be better off and safer if Bill Barr were never again anywhere near government. I don't know if we have solid enough evidence to prosecute him for anything. But I do agree with you that he's a very bad guy.
Thanks, Tammy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Schmobs, please unmute yourself. This is for everybody who's waiting to talk. Please unmute yourself really before, like as soon as we bring you in. That way we can keep the show moving and get as many people to come on as possible. Breaking news on that Swiss fire, by the way. The fire did start by sparklers that were set up in these champagne bottles. That's Washington Post.
Crazy.
Schmobs, go ahead.
Yes, cool.
Hello. I guess my question, first of all, John, really hope you get the pardon. Great show as always.
Thank you.
I guess my question would chiefly be involved with, I don't know if either of you are familiar with the Austrian justice cycle or the bipartisan, but I just wanted to get you guys' opinion on the recent markets. I don't know if you guys believe. I saw that John, you did an episode on gold. I don't know. What do you guys make of the approaching $40 trillion deficit and how it's all playing out?
Schmobs, you're a little hard to hear, but John, I think he's asking about the $40 trillion, well, really 37 trillion, but who's counting deficit and how scary that is or not scary.
I'm genuinely worried about it. Worried about it for the future of my children. But my friends who subscribe to MMT, modern monetary theory, say it makes no difference. They're just numbers that don't have any impact. I'd love to believe that that's true, but I'm not a smart enough person in economics to just dismiss the idea that the national debt is just a number that doesn't mean anything. I think it does mean something. We are very, very rapidly getting to the point where the interest that we pay on the national debt is the largest expenditure in government. Okay, well, when you couple that with a bigger defense budget than the next 8 largest countries combined, it's unsustainable. Besides, it's the Russians who own not most, but a plurality of our national debt in the form of long-term government bonds. So it's like they have us by the neck. Between the debt and Chinese ownership of the debt, I think it's very, very dangerous. We have to encourage economic growth by slashing defense spending and try to pay down the debt. Our debt currently stands at a number greater than our GDP I just saw this day before yesterday. Greater than our GDP. So I think we're in for a period of economic stagnancy. Is that right? Stagnation. What's the word? Stagnation. Thank you. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I think we're in for
stagnacity.
Of economic stagnation, like the Japanese experience through the 1980s. It took them 20 years to break out of it. What do you think, Ted?
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree with you. How many times have we been told that, like, a big scary number doesn't matter, right? Like all the debt leading into the 2007, 2008 subprime mortgage meltdown. It doesn't matter that we're lending all this money to people who can't afford to pay back their loans. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that debt to asset ratios are off. Doesn't matter that, price to earnings ratios are off before the 1987 stock market crash. These numbers don't matter, and they don't matter until they do. So I agree with you. You have to pay attention. I mean, John, it made huge news and headlines when Ronald Reagan was president, when the deficit, the national debt hit $1 trillion. We're now 37 times higher than that. It took the better part of a century to hit 1, and now 4 decades later, we're at 37 times that. That's a terrifying rate of acceleration. And when you mentioned like the Russians owning our debt, I did want to quote this. John Maynard Keynes famously said, right? Like if you owe the, I saw this quote recently, but it's like if you owe the bank $100, that's your problem. If you owe the bank $1 million, that's their problem. So, there is something to that too. So I hear you.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay.
Well, we hear you. I don't know if the world can hear you.
No,
I can hear you.
No, I just had to fix that. So basically what my question is my understanding is that inflation from the classical definition is the expansion of money supply. So think about a balloon. If you push air into a balloon, the balloon expands, and then what will happen is that that's how you have inflation or deflation. Prices don't expand, they go up or they go down. My understanding is that as the money supply goes, as it grows, it destroys the purchasing power of every dollar currently in circulation. Is that correct? And if it is, then isn't the rising prices isn't inflation? That's a symptom of a failed monetary policy.
Well, it's a radically simplified version of the truth. It is true that printing more money has an inflationary effect. That's for sure. It's also true that you could have inflation without increasing the money supply. There's a relationship, but it's not like a straightforward one that way. Now, the thing is that the way that the system is currently set up is this economy is based on consumer spending. So the system wants to motivate us to buy more goods and services all the time, right? So inflation is part of that feature. All quote unquote healthy, late 20th century, early 21st century economies basically have inflation built into it, because the idea is if I buy now, it's cheaper than buying later because prices are going up. So it encourages me to buy now. Deflation has the opposite. The reason deflation is terrifying under the current system is because if I know that something that costs $100 now is going to be $60 later, why would I buy now? The answer is I wouldn't. And if I have my money sitting, so basically people stop spending, then there's no consumerism. And then, of course, if there's no one's buying goods and services, no one's employed anymore. No one's selling anything anymore. Inventory piles up in warehouses. Then eventually the whole thing comes crashing down because there's inventory that nobody can afford to buy because nobody's employed anymore. So you go into a doom cycle. But, there's a relationship for sure, like we saw in Weimar, Germany at an extreme. But it's also the nature of this system, a system that, by the way, I don't approve of, but this is the system that we have.
Gotcha.
John?
Yeah, I couldn't add anything to that.
Gotcha. Well,
I
thank
agree
y'all.
with Ted.
Thank y'all very much
Anytime.
for that. So next up is uh Pazois. Pazois, you are live. I apologize for butchering your name. Please unmute and ask your question.
Hey, good morning. Is that me?
That's you.
It is you.
Sure is.
Awesome. Good morning, John and Ted, and good morning, Robbie, as well.
Hey.
Thank you guys so much for doing this call-in show. I love it. My question today was inspired by something that I heard the great Scott Horton say, talking about the neocons and war hawks in general. Is he was wondering, he goes, are any of these people even, do they believe in God even just a little bit enough to sway them in the direction of thinking maybe blowing up little kids 10,000 miles away is a bad idea? And so I guess my question to you is just that is, what is the tradition of faith and religion look like in these agencies? And do people have a religious grounding?
Great question. That's a great question. Well, I've said many times that both the CIA and the FBI have unusually large numbers of Mormons. And the reason is quite simple. It is because Mormons tend to come into these positions already having very difficult languages, because Brigham Young University, where many of them went, has one of the greatest language programs in America, maybe anywhere in the world. And these people go out on their Mormon missions for a year, usually, to these very difficult countries, speaking very difficult languages, and then seek to enter government. The government doesn't have to send them to school to learn how to speak Uzbek or Tajik or Mandarin or whatever. They already have the language, number one. Number two, they don't do anything bad. They don't swear, they don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't do drugs, they don't steal, and they just blow right through the polygraph exam. So they are just the perfect applicants, number one. Number two, I found the CIA to be, on the whole, far more religious. I found CIA employees to be far more religious than the public at large. They really believe they're doing God's work, and they really believe that God's work includes murdering civilians all around the world, because we're the good guys, they're the bad guys, and this is the way God wants it. There are affinity groups at the agency. The agency actively encourages employees to socialize and spend time only with other employees, right? You want to play sports? No problem. We've got a softball league, a flag football league, a hockey league, you name it, you can do it. There's a quilting club, there's an LGBTQ organization. Anything that you would want to do in your spare time, the CIA's got a club. And you meet in the CIA auditorium, or you meet in a CIA conference room, or whatever, you do your thing. That includes Christian organizations. They have evangelical organizations, they have Catholic organizations, they have Mormon organizations, and you can do all of it inside the building. So yeah, it's much more religious, in my own scare quotes, than the general public is, which I never understood.
I have no, obviously, experience with those kinds of government agencies, having never worked in one. The only insight that I have to offer is just that, in banking and other places and in journalism, where I've witnessed people who were powerful politicians, people who are they're able to justify themselves, any kind of action, no matter how violent and brutal, psychologically, by, like John, the way you said, I'm a good person, and basically sometimes, as Napoleon said, to make an omelet, you have to break a few eggs, and that's how people justify it to themselves. I don't think it's unusual. I think most of us could end up doing that. I could easily see myself, sitting in a revolutionary committee one day, signing off on some counter-revolutionary, fascist to be executed. My grandfather did. My grandfather supervised the execution of French collaborators at the end of World War II. I never thought he was a bad man, even though, he basically murdered these people extrajudicially. I think it's pretty easy for people to do it. It's very rare to find a human being who's able sometimes in their life to just sort of say, I know this is like, I think I'm a good person, but what if I'm not? Or what if, even if I'm a good person, maybe being a good person means I don't take this extra step. I don't do this. It's unusual. That's why people like John are rare, right? It was like the question, like when I wrote the book about Ed Snowden, my question was, I didn't know how to really get into I always look for a way into a book, like what's the message? What's the big question I'm seeking to answer? And I read that like hundreds of thousands of people had access to some or all of the same information that he leaked. And then my question became like, why just him, right? Like they all knew it was illegal or should have known. Why was he literally 1 in a million? And so the fact is, he was 1 in a million. You're 1 in a million. That's John. It's just the way we're wired as human beings.
No, I agree with that. All right, so next up, Alex, you are live with John and Ted. Please unmute yourself and ask your question. Thank you.
Alex, please unmute yourself and come on, you're on the air.
Oh,
So next up,
hello. I've been thinking about a lot about the torture program, and I am thinking how exactly all those illegal programs are authorized. It can be that president can authorize whatever he wants, same with those who follow his orders, or does president say, relax, say the director, if it goes sour, I will pardon you all. Say now
Good
go
question.
and kill, but get the results. I guess the Sicario movie gave me that image, but I don't see like a lot of presidents doing time, being on electric chair, or simply like excommunicado from all possible places. They all just
Right.
go into
Right.
hiding after their term. And you don't see like
Um,
Clinton and political rallies either.
um, yeah. Usually it comes from the bottom up. Usually it is somebody at the CIA coming up with an idea that is then pitched to the president. I'll give you an example, the one I know the best, the torture program. So the torture program, the idea was hatched by 2 contract psychologists before they had the contract, 2 psychologists by the name of James Mitchell and Bruce Jessen. In October of 2001, they approached a friend of theirs who was a high-ranking official in the CIA's counterterrorism center. And he was at a dinner party, and George Tenet was there. And he went up to George and said, George, listen, I have these 2 friends who are psychologists, and they've reverse engineered the SEER program. They're calling it enhanced interrogation techniques. We can beat the shit out of these prisoners and torture them and make them give us information so we can disrupt the next attack. George loved the idea. So here's the way it works out bureaucratically. You have this idea, you write it up in a memo, and you send it to an office called CAS, the Covert Action Staff. CAS formats it so it's in the right format, the right heading, the right font, all that stuff. And they send it to the CIA's general counsel, the head lawyer for the CIA. He has to read it and decide if it's legal or if it's illegal. He doesn't know if it's legal or it's illegal. So he sends it to the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel, OLC. They read it. This was John Yoo and Jay Bybee. They read it and they said, we can make the law stand on its head. So we'll write a memo called the UBIB memo that will argue that it is legal, even though we have laws that specifically prohibit it. We're going to say, extenuating circumstances, we're going to say it's legal. Then it goes to the Attorney General. And the Attorney General says, well, if my people say it's legal, then it must be legal. So he signs it. Then it goes to the National Security Council's General Counsel. And he says, well, if the Attorney General says it's legal, and OLC says it's legal, and CIA General Counsel thinks it's legal, otherwise they wouldn't have sent it forward, it must be legal. So the NSC General Counsel signs off on it. Then it goes to the National Security Advisor. And Condi Rice said, well, my God, this whole parade of attorneys who are far smarter than I am, they all say it's legal. It must be legal. So she signs it. Then it goes to the president. And they make 3 copies. The president signs each one of the 3 copies. One goes into the safe in the CIA's operations center. One goes into the safe in the National Security Council. And one goes to the executive office of the president. And then it's legal. It's secret, but it's legal. That's how one of these crazy programs is implemented. It starts off as an idea at a dinner party. And then it takes November, December, January, February, March, when it's signed by the president, 5 months. And it becomes the law of the land, even if almost no Americans know about it.
John, I read, is this true? I read that at one point, even Vice President Dick Cheney at some point was read into some of the specific techniques that were being used in the torture program, and that at least he verbally approved of it.
Yeah. Actually, there's even more. There's even more to that story. George Tenet said in his memoir that that he went to the White House with the final version of the torture covert action program, and Cheney walked into the office. George was waiting in the anteroom of the Oval Office, and Cheney walked in. He said, "George, what are you doing here?" And George said, "I've got the memo for the enhanced interrogation program for the president to sign." And Cheney said, "Oh, give it to me. I'll have the president sign it." And George said, "Well, I have to have the president sign it because it's going back to the agency to go into the vault." And Cheney insisted that he would get the president to sign it. And he physically took it from George. And George said, years later, thinking about it, he wasn't sure that the president had ever signed it. He was thinking maybe Cheney auto-penned it. And that when the president said that we do not torture, which is how I got involved, that he was actually telling the truth because he didn't know that there was a torture program. Cheney knew and kept it from him.
What do you think?
Well, with what I know about George W. Bush now, compared to what I believed I knew in 2002, I think Bush actually did not know that we were torturing prisoners.
Do you think this was an effort? Do you think Cheney was trying to avoid Bush seeing something that he would have vetoed or disapproved of? Or do you think he was just trying to protect the president by providing him with plausible deniability in the event that things went tits up?
I think that Cheney thought if the president knew about this program, he would have gone to his father for advice. And his father would have said, "Run screaming from the room. This is wrong. It's illegal. And it's going to all fall on you." And I think Cheney didn't want that to happen.
and he just wanted the torture to happen, and he was willing to do whatever it took to make it happen. So it's possible that it was auto-penned. I mean, look, that would be possible to ascertain if we ever got a copy of that signature.
Yeah, I think so. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it.
Y'all ready?
Interesting. Wow.
Y'all ready for your next call?
Yeah. Just a quick reminder, please click on the Discord link if you would like to talk to John and myself. And that Discord link is in the Rumble chat and in the YouTube chat. Thanks everyone for playing, and we're doing this for another 29 minutes here. Then we're back to our regularly scheduled program next week. So not to say we won't ever do this again, because we do like doing it, but we're just taking advantage of the fact that the TMI show is off the air for this week. Anyway, go ahead, Robbie. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you are good. So next up is Venkatesh. Venkatesh, you are live with John and Ted. You are live.
Go ahead, Venkatesh.
Yeah, I have three small questions. This being the last day of the fall episode. John, you've been on multiple podcasts. Which one was your favorite? And have you guys heard of the documentarian Errol Morris, who made a documentary on Robert McNamara, who was former Secretary of Defense? That document was prolific, was brilliant, and I thought with him and you, it could be a perfect pair, and you could easily take your word to millions of people. And lastly, I have a personal touch, but I was watching 4K footage of 4K drone footage of Shenzhen and Shanghai this morning, and for some reason I started to cry. me being an Indian, I thought, will India as a country will ever get to that stage or something like that? So do you ever see India as a global player as China is today? Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Good questions, man. So I'll start with my favorite podcast. It's got to be Tucker Carlson. Tucker's just such a genuinely sweet guy that you almost forget you're on a podcast that millions of people are going to watch. It really does feel that it's just you and a friend sitting across the table from one another, having a nice conversation. It just doesn't feel like a podcast. There are no nerves. He's just a very sweet guy. So that's my favorite. I've been on big ones. Another guy who is just really genuinely sweet like that is a guy named Tegan Broadwater. I've been on his podcast 2 or 3 times, and he's just a genuinely good guy. To the point where I've stayed in touch with him, and I consider him to be a friend. Like I said yesterday on this other issue, I genuinely worry about China. I don't believe that the Chinese are all over the world engaged in the construction of, bridges and highways and hospitals and airports out of the goodness of their hearts. I think that they are a lot smarter than we are when it comes to these issues. And I think that they recognize the value of soft power far better than the United States does. So I'm worried about what China's going to look like in the next 20 years. What other issue am I missing, Ted?
Oh, can India become rival China as a global
Absolutely,
superpower?
yes. Absolutely, yes. For a number of reasons. Number one, because China is a more easily functioning government because it's democracy. I think that the Indians have a long way to go, but I think that the Chinese system is such that in the end, the bureaucracy is going to hold it back.
It's funny that I would argue with you about that. I mean, I agree with you about the government. I think China's political system holds it back, no question.
Yeah,
It doesn't unleash the full power and creativity of the Chinese
that's
economy
it.
and the people
Yeah.
and their ingenuity and all that. I think the Indians are held back by something we've talked about, which is the gross inequality and mass scale
Yes.
poverty.
Yes. I agree
Their human
100%.
potential is locked up. So many fucking hundreds of millions of Indians who are basically so worried about like whether they can eat today. They're not coming. These are all startups that are not happening, businesses that are not getting started, degrees that are not being earned, ideas that are not being conceived. They're held back by that. Their human potential, and that's hurting their GDP. It's going to drag them down, and they're not going to have the money that they need to expand globally.
Agreed. Yeah. You said
So it's
it
kind of a
much
race.
better than I said it. Yeah, there's going to have to be a lot of change in the way that that India runs its society, that the Indian government runs Indian society. Like we said, this caste system is just so fucked up that it's got to change, like right now. And you know, I dated an Indian woman for a while after my second divorce, and she asked me if I had ever been to India, and I said, yeah, I have been 3 times. She said, oh, did you love it? And I said, actually, no, I didn't love it. And it's unusual for me to go to a place and not find something to really love, right? I love travel. I love going all around the world. Even in the worst shitholes in the world, I find something that I really enjoy. I didn't like India. She said, really? Why? And I said, I had never been to a country where people were so mean to one another. Not mean to me. Everybody was perfectly nice to me. Mean to one another. And it's this caste system. I agree with you, Ted. That's what's going to hold the Indian economy back. Plus,
Yeah,
they
I mean,
have to.
I think it's easier to pivot. I
deregulate.
think it's easier to pivot a political system than an economic system.
Yeah.
I mean, the Chinese the Chinese could just have democracy, next year if they wanted.
Yeah.
But India can't just turn on, a more equitable distribution of wealth.
That is right.
I have a question for both of y'all because y'all both have traveled a lot. Which country's economic system is it easier for someone just to legitimately pull themselves up from nothing and build a future for yourself? The United States or China?
Ooh,
It's a tough one.
I would have said until very recently the United States, until maybe 20 years ago. Now I think it might be China. It's more of a meritocracy. If you're gifted, if you're talented in something, the government and its educational system has a massive interest in elevating you. I mean, I saw I, Tanya, right, about Tanya Harding, the figure skater. And I was struck by the fact that, like, she was poor and she couldn't afford, like, to make her outfits. She had to make her own outfits. She couldn't, like, buy the proper ones. And there was this whole caste system in figure skating, right? That would not happen in a country like Russia or China. I mean, her talent would have been picked up immediately, and she would have been sent to a state school where her talent, and she wouldn't have had to worry for anything except just practice. That's more like, I think, if you have an innate talent that is of a kind that can be recognized by the state and by business, someone in China is going to fucking lift you up where you belong. I don't think that's necessarily true here. You could be brilliant as shit and stuck working in a 7-Eleven the rest of your life.
Absolutely true. I agree.
All right.
That's sad.
Well, thank y'all. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in Ray now. Ray, you are live with John and Ted. Please unmute, and we await your question, sir. Ray,
Please unmute.
Ray, you're alive.
Ray, please unmute yourself. There you are.
Hey,
Here you.
morning, guys. How you doing, Mr. Raw?
Hey,
Anyway,
how are you?
John,
You muted.
Oh, you muted
Am I
again.
Muted again.
There you go.
Go ahead, Ray.
Okay, I unmuted myself. I'm muted again.
No, you're good.
No, you're
How do
good.
we,
You're good.
Okay, I understand what I did, Ted. I mess up all the time with the mute and the tab there. Anyway, my question, last night I was watching Tori Maris, and John, she is the woman that worked for John Brennan at Global Strategies, and I brought up about you getting a pardon. And what she said, she would like to reach out and speak to you because you guys work in the same fields, you know. But she was saying it would be strategically smart if you were pardoned for a number of reasons. But, you know, she actually wanted, she gave an open invitation if you wanted to speak to her, you know. And I sent Robbie like a clip of it.
I would love it. Robbie, can you
She's
Can
also
you,
a Greek American, John. She's from Corinth, her family hails. Yes, she is Greek.
okay.
And she would love to speak to you. She also said about other men, you know, but basically there was something else someone brought up in the chat there, and it was saying maybe some of the strategical strikes against Venezuela or basically expatriation, cleaning up messes around the world for the agency. I've never heard of that before, but could you elaborate on that? And also, like she's also on Twitter as a chaos coordinator. If you needed to get a hold of her,
I'm gonna look.
Yeah, she doesn't exist, if you know what I mean. Them private contractors, yeah.
Right.
But I was basically asking about the expatriation. You know what that means, basically. Something about also it would usher in AI infrastructure down there and across the world.
Huh.
Expiation is, I think, the word.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you, Ted.
That's a hard operation to pull off. It's absolutely possible, but that would be tough to pull off. But it's, yeah, I could see that happening where, you know, the CIA goes around the world blowing shit up to cover up things that they've done or that they intend to do. There are a lot of moving parts with an operation like that, and so they're very difficult to pull off, like I said. And I'm pausing as I'm saying this because I'm trying to think back on whether I can recall any such operations, and I can't, to tell you the truth. Not while I was there, anyway.
I just wanted to know what it was about. And hey, Mr. Raw, I'm going to see the Subhumans in April, man. Some good old punk there.
Excellent. Enjoy. I'm jealous.
All right.
Hey, can I
go
ask
ahead.
you too? Can I ask you if you can give Robbie whatever contact information you might have for her, and I'll
I did that
I'll reach out
already. I
Oh,
did
you
that
did?
for Robbie. So
I will
yeah,
get
and
to
I
you.
also
Thank you.
the clip last night. I gave a time frame. Unfortunately, I couldn't. YouTube doesn't allow you the clip anymore. So I gave Robbie the time frame where she discussed about you. If he wants to send that to you, so. But she would love to speak to you, John.
Thank you.
Yeah, she wants your perspective
I
on
would be
things
delighted.
too. Yeah, and it's not going to
Thank
be
you very
the
much.
same old. Hey, John, tell your story 15 million times, man.
Thank God. Yeah, thank God. No, I don't want to do that anymore. Yes.
All
Thanks.
right. Hey, guys, have a happy New Year, man. Good to see you, Ted.
Thank you.
Good to
Happy
see
New
you,
Year.
John.
Thank you
Have
for
a
your
good one,
support,
Robbie.
too.
Hope you
Appreciate
feel better, brother.
Oh, thank you.
Enjoy the
Thank
show.
you.
All right, just 1 second. I think we just had a crash, boys and girls.
Really?
Yep. I think OBS just shit the bed in a spectacular manner. I think people can still hear
Are we
us.
off the air?
No, we're still on the air. It's just I can't see anything anymore. So, but that's fine. We can muddle this on through. Just 1 second, and I will bring
We're
over.
prettier when you don't see us.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let me see here. Y'all, so I'm going to have to alt tab out. Y'all may see some stuff here on the screen. It's nothing bad. It's just not going to look very good while I try to fix this. So let me see here. Let me see.
we always talk about I always talk about the Jeffrey Toobin thing. I wonder about have there been any major screen share mishaps in business where people share their screen and then there's open tabs for, whatever.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. No, it does happen. No,
listen.
Now my computer is completely locked up. So let me see.
I worked for a guy who projected his screen up on a big pull down screen.
Yeah.
And he had a tab that was called Sexy Russian Bitches. That was open.
Well, if you've got to have a tab, I mean, that's the one I would go with personally. No, my wife is black, so I probably have sexy black bitches, but still just the same.
Right. Same idea.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So let me see. Nope. So we are. I am completely locked up. So Ted, you've got to do some producer work now. So if you could bring down, Yellow Banana into the Discord chat, and I assume people can still hear us.
All right.
I cannot
Yellow
promise
Banana,
it.
Here you come. All right. I think I can do this. Let's see. We're gonna find out. I'm not able to drag Yellow Banana.
Okay. So no, we are.
I am not draggable.
You're not draggable. Such is
Let's
life.
see.
Okay, so hold on. I'm trying to rebuild this. All right, hold on. I think we're back. I think we're alive. Rebuilding.
We're live.
Y'all, this is live TV. I mean, it is what it is. So you just have to deal with it. All right, Yellow Banana, you are live with John and Ted, I think. I think you're live. We can hear you at least.
Yep.
All right.
There he is.
Good to be on again. Quick question for y'all, and one for John too. Just wanted to get your thoughts on Andrew Yang and UBI, and then for John, just wanted to hear more about that Texas speaking tour you have.
Yeah, great. Real quick, let me talk about Texas. So I had a commitment from a very wealthy friend of mine to put up $250,000 to get my speaking tour back on track. He told me on October the 12th he was going to transfer the money. I'm still waiting. It's long beyond October the 12th. And every time I text him or call him, he has some excuse. So I went out looking for other investors. I found one over the weekend who sent me $100,000, which is very helpful. But I need another $100,000 to get this thing planned. So the initial plan, and I have a meeting about this at 2:00 this afternoon. We're going to start the speaking tour at the end of February in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's going to likely be hosted by the World Affairs Council of Santa Fe. Then we're going to Branson, Missouri, then Charleston, South Carolina, and then in the first couple of weeks of March, it's going to be Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Houston. So I'm going to cover like a blanket with emails all of this as soon as it's really pinned down. I need to find another $100,000. I'm working on it this coming week. But as soon as we get that second $100,000 and I can rent the facilities, we're going to get moving. So thanks for asking. It's going to happen.
Awesome.
I'm optimistic. I don't have a speakers bureau behind me this time, so I have to do it all myself, which is a huge challenge, but at the end of the day, frees me up to do all kinds of things that I otherwise couldn't do when I was in the UK and Ireland.
So
Andrew Yang.
Andrew Yang.
Yeah, I never
universal
liked Andrew
basic
Yang.
income. Go ahead.
I like that idea, but I don't like Andrew Yang. I don't trust him.
I don't either. Why don't you?
I feel like he's a neoliberal in progressive clothing.
Yeah, he is. He's a weasel. He tries to basically, that's the best way to put it. I don't trust him either, and his politics are soft and squishy. Also, his version of UBI, it would just sort of be a subsidy. It wouldn't really be enough for anybody to even subsist.
Right.
But the thing is, look, as a lefty, I think a UBI is just basically like it's a Band-Aid to a capitalist system. But That said, okay, this is the system we have until we have a revolution. So, look, from the capitalists' own point of view, they need this as much as we do. We have lower worker participation rate year after year after year because technology keeps improving productivity. AI is just the latest example, but automation, so on. So basically, they don't need as many of us working as many hours as we used to. That's not bad news. That's good news. But what they've got to do is, like, now that the money's still pouring into the system, and what we got to do is take some of that money to pay people to sit at home. And that's, I know, very against the Protestant work ethic. It seems very anti-American, but take heart in the following. Some of those people will be bored and will start their own businesses and start the businesses of the future and come up with crazy new ideas. And the others, instead of coming out and killing people or causing revolution or burning things down or causing crimes, they will sit at home on their computers and watch TV, and they'll be out of the way. That's the purpose of a UBI, and is to basically pay people to not end up like India. Right, we will end up like fucking India if we don't have a UBI. So that's my.
It's like a farm subsidy. It's like a farm subsidy where you get paid not to grow, wheat or corn because it's going to flood the market. It's going to force the price down, and then everybody's going to be unhappy. The same idea. I told you I had this friend at the CIA. Farmers. Yeah, exactly. You still want to have farmers. I used to have this friend at the CIA who he had some money. So he bought 100,000 acres in North Dakota, 100,000 acres. And he just bought it to hunt on it. He wanted his own private hunting ground. He said as soon as he settled on the property, he gets a letter from the Department of Agriculture saying that they'll pay him to not grow wheat. He said he never had any intention of growing anything, let alone wheat. He's not a farmer. He's a full-time CIA officer. He just would go up there to hunt. And so he took the subsidy not to grow the wheat. He said that the subsidy paid the mortgage on the property every year. And after 30 years, he owned it free and clear, never paid one red cent out of his own pocket.
Now, would you consider that to be a fucked up system, or?
Yeah, it's one of those quirks in the system that we've given ourselves. But how do you correct for something like that?
You can't.
You would have to rely on the honesty of people to say, hey, listen, I wasn't going to grow wheat anyway, so I won't take your millions and millions of dollars in subsidies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I could tell you.
I guess if we weren't wasting so much money on defense and in Israel and Ukraine, I guess I would be more upset about it.
Well, I could tell you how you get the right wingers to sign up on it, like me, because people like me, we're suspicious of new government programs. Specifically, if the government gives you money to try to buy you off, what's to prevent them from then using that to put a chain around your neck? The way that you get around it is that you would sell it as a way where you actually get dividends like a shareholder does in a corporation. So if the government is turning not a profit, they don't make money, at least not legally. But
they could back in the day.
Well, they could, but no. For example, though, what you could do is if you have a budget surplus, then all taxpayers get a percentage as a dividend, your UBI, for that surplus. That's how you be able to shrink government spending, and then that actually gives you an incentive to make government lean and efficient, not just more bloated. What do y'all think?
Well, I mean, I definitely see the appeal of it. It's self-explanatory. For me, the hesitation is that the main purpose of government really isn't to make a profit. The purpose of government is to provide for things collectively that people can't do individually or in small groups. And I don't see how you get there from that.
Well, the government's taxing us already. So, I mean, if you're $37 trillion in debt, if you are then able to, cut your spending and you balance the books, and then the government is actually bringing more revenue than expenditure, I mean, you have a surplus. That's the definition. So then either A, you cut taxes, or B, you actually start paying dividends to taxpayers. And that's the thing. You have to be a taxpayer. If you don't pay into the system, you get nothing. That incentivizes you to, like, if you're an illegal migrant who's living under who's sucking off the tit and working under the table, that then incentivizes you to become legal and get involved with the system.
Well, that would literally be treating government like a business.
Correct.
Something that politicians always talk about.
Well,
but businesses need to, like you say, cut spending and increase revenue. So there would be an incentive for the government to increase their tax collections, raise everyone's taxes a lot, and then provide fewer services than they're even providing now, which I can't think is. I mean, my problem with the U.S. government is that they're providing too many stupid services and not enough good ones. I mean, we really need more services, right? I mean, we need free college. We need healthcare.
I agree, but inflation is a tax, and that's what people don't really want to ever talk about. It literally is. It's a tax, and so it's a tax
That's a separate issue.
But
fiscal policy is different, though.
But it's related, though, because the more that things cost, the more then that especially states and stuff are able to charge with sales tax and that kind of thing. So there is a correlation. See what I mean?
Sure. There's a correlation.
And so I guess that's how you would be able to win people on my side of the aisles. That you're getting a rebate off of money that you've already spent, and then it incentivizes voters to then punish politicians like Trump, who outspend Obama, which I didn't think was possible, but yet here we are.
Oh, just you wait. We will look back. The American system is a study in entropy. We will look back at Donald Trump as a fiscally responsible, calm, methodical, responsible president. We will miss him.
He's a moron.
I promise you. Oh, I know. So was Bush.
But you're right, though, because we used to say the same stuff about Ronald Reagan. He was a nut. He was an extremist. He's going to lead to the demise of the country. And now people are like, oh, my God, do I pine for the days of Ronald Reagan?
Totally.
Oh, my God.
Tell you what I'd like to see. And the reason I'm going on like this is because we don't have time for another caller. We have 2 minutes to kill. So you also have to just put up with my crappy voice. You know what I think would really just set the stage, and I want to get y'all's opinion on this, for an actual reform from the grassroots? What would happen if 120 Americans just said, fuck it, we're not going to pay our credit cards anymore? What would happen? The banking system would drop to its knees, and the usury would finally come to an end.
Not a chance.
But that's not going to happen. Yeah, I mean, because think about the level. This is like when leftists. I mean, that would be a left wing thing too.
100%.
But this is like when left wingers talk about, like, we need a national strike. Like during Occupy Wall Street, or now they'll say, like, oh, we need instead of no kings, everyone needs a national strike. The level of left wing grassroots organization required to pull off something like that is inconceivable at the present point in time. I mean, this country doesn't have we don't have the ability to get. Well, remember the Million Man March? I mean, Louis Farrakhan couldn't get 1 million guys to show up for the Million Man March. And you want 120 million people to all agree to put up in the face of all the threats of having their homes taken away and their finances and their credit ratings ruined. You want them to hold firm? We couldn't get fucking 5 Democrats in the Senate to fucking hold firm, to defend the Affordable Care Act subsidies. It's just that, I mean, it's a great idea, but the level of solidarity that you need to have an organization, it's stratospheric. I mean, it's like Alpha Centauri. Like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah. But I did not come up with this idea, and it probably surprised both you and John about who did. It was Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson said that if you want to bring,
and he knows what I just said is true.
100%. But I mean, my whole thing is that if you keep going to the people in Washington D.C. and they're the ones who are screwing you, to ask them to please use at least a little bit of lube, they're not going to. You have to push back.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree, but you know the thing is, like, you can have revolutionary impulses, but you're not going to have a revolution without the organization. You'll just have collapse. We have revolutionary impulses. We don't have the organization.
Well, we're going to
pull off a
collapse anyway.
revolution.
I'm seriously, I think we're going to just completely collapse anyway. How can we not? It's so top heavy and bloated. My concern is what happens next. I don't want that to happen. I have kids.
No, that's my concern too.
What do you think, John?
I don't want collapse is ugly.
Am I off the reservation here?
Yeah.
Or?
No, collapse. We're headed that direction. I really believe. Yeah, we've got to do something. It's got to start with defense spending. We're killing ourselves. We're
right.
implementing the path to our own collapse.
100%.
Yeah, it's got to stop.
That's where most of the money is going. And I mean, there's other shit too, but that's right. Start is the right way to put it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Robbie. Thank you so much, John. Happy New Year to you and to everybody else. We will be back Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for a regular 1-hour show, Monday through Friday, all of next week, 9 o'clock a.m. Mark it down. And please like, follow, and share the show as much as possible. And have a great weekend.